The strangest thing about changing your life is that it rarely feels like your life is changing while it is happening. There is no trumpet, no explosion, no giant sign in the sky announcing that everything you've been waiting for has finally arrived. Sometimes it happens quietly. Sometimes it happens on an ordinary afternoon. Sometimes it happens while you're sitting alone in an office, staring at a computer screen, wondering what you're going to work on next. That was how it happened to me. At 4:17 in the afternoon, I was sitting at my desk. The office was quiet. The day's work was essentially finished, but I hadn't left yet. I had one of those moments where my mind seemed to be moving faster than my hands could possibly keep up with. An invention, a business, a creative project, a new way of helping people experience something they had never experienced before. Another idea came in, then another. I opened a blank document. I typed 3 words. What if reality? Then I stopped. I stared at the sentence. Something about it felt different. Not because it was a particularly profound sentence, because suddenly I realized I had spent years asking the wrong question. I had always asked, what can I create? But what if the deeper question was, what can I experience? I leaned back. I closed my eyes. For just a moment, I imagined the life I wanted. Not the possessions, not the money, not the companies. The feeling, freedom, creativity, adventure, love, the ocean, a beautiful home, people around me who were excited about the future, ideas becoming real, and most importantly, the feeling that I wasn't waiting for life to begin anymore. I opened my eyes and I laughed because I suddenly understood something incredibly simple. I had been treating the future like it was somewhere I had to travel to, but the future wasn't a place. It was a direction. And the moment I chose the direction, I was already moving toward it. I shut the computer. That's enough for today. I reached for my jacket. That's when my phone rang. I almost ignored it. Then I saw who was calling. I answered, "Hello? Are you sitting down?" I laughed. I'm already sitting. Good. There was a pause. Then, you need to see this. What is it? I can't explain it over the phone. That got my attention. Where are you? 5 minutes away. From here? Yes. Okay. The call ended. I stared at the phone. 5 minutes later, the door opened. A friend walked into the office carrying a small black box. He set it on my desk. What is that? Something you've been looking for? I've been looking for a lot of things. I know. He opened the box. Inside was a device. Small, elegant, almost ridiculously simple. I picked it up. What does it do? He smiled. That's the problem. What problem? We don't know yet. I looked at him. He reached into the box and pulled out a second device. Watch. He placed both devices on the desk. Then he activated them. Nothing happened. At least, nothing I could see. I waited 5 seconds, 10, 20. Then I noticed something. The clock on my computer had stopped. I looked at my phone. Its clock had stopped too. I looked at him. He was staring at me. Okay. Then the lights flickered and everything went silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence you don't experience in ordinary life. No air conditioner, no distant traffic, no hum from the computer, nothing. Then I heard something, my own breathing, except it didn't sound like it was coming from me. It sounded like it was coming from somewhere far away. I closed my eyes, and suddenly I wasn't in the office. I was standing on a beach. I opened my eyes. The ocean stretched endlessly in front of me. The sky was enormous. The sand was warm beneath my feet. I turned around. There was no one there, no office, no town, no roads, just the ocean. I looked down. I was wearing the same clothes. I could see my hands. I could feel the wind. Everything was completely real. Hello? My voice echoed across the beach. Then something extraordinary happened. The sky changed, not gradually, instantly. Day became night. Stars appeared. Millions of them. Then the stars began moving. They formed patterns. The patterns became shapes. The shapes became images. And I realized I was watching my own life. Not memories, possibilities. I saw myself as a child. Then I saw myself older. Then younger. Then I saw hundreds of versions of myself. Different lives, different decisions, different cities, different careers, different relationships, different futures. In one, I had become an inventor. In another, I was living beside the ocean. In another, I was traveling constantly. In another, I had built a massive company. In another, I had never pursued any of my ideas. In another, I had disappeared completely into an ordinary life. And then I saw something that stopped me cold. There was one version of myself standing on the beach, looking at me. He was older, much older, but I knew immediately who he was. Me, he smiled. You're finally here. I couldn't speak. Who are you? He laughed. You already know. What is this? Choice. Choice. Every possibility you've ever imagined exists as a possibility. I looked around. Are you saying all of these lives are real? He shook his head. Not yet. That word echoed in my mind. Not yet. Then, what makes one real? He looked toward the ocean. Attention. I didn't understand. He continued. Where you place your attention determines which possibility you continue walking toward. I stared at him. So you're saying imagination creates a reality? He smiled. Now you're beginning to understand. The beach disappeared. Suddenly, I was standing inside one of my future offices. People were everywhere: designers, engineers, artists, researchers, developers. A giant wall displayed projects I recognized, projects that hadn't been invented yet, ideas I had only thought about. And there they were, real, built, working. I walked through the office. Someone passed me. Morning? Morning. I stopped. Do I work here? The person laughed. You built the place. I looked through a glass wall. Beyond it was a laboratory. Inside, a team was working on something enormous. I walked closer. The door opened automatically. A young engineer looked up. We finally solved it. Solved what? The interface between imagination and experience. I stared at him. What does that mean? He pointed toward a machine. It means you don't have to explain an idea anymore. He touched a screen. Just imagine it. The room changed. Suddenly, I was standing inside a forest, then a spaceship, then a house overlooking the ocean, then a city floating above the clouds, then a place I had never seen before. The machine wasn't creating images, it was creating experiences. I could feel them, smell them, hear them. I could walk through them. I could imagine something and enter it. I turned toward the engineer. How did you build this? He smiled. You told us to. I did? Years ago, I felt a strange chill. What year is it? He told me. I stared at him. That wasn't possible. It was years in the future. But somehow I knew he was telling the truth. I walked outside. The building overlooked an enormous ocean. There were structures everywhere: retreat centers, creative laboratories, universities, gardens, homes, places designed around imagination, creativity, consciousness, and human possibility. And then I saw the name, Orange Sun Labs. I stopped walking. The name was everywhere, on buildings, on signs, on screens, on research facilities. It had become something far larger than I had ever imagined. But the strangest part wasn't the scale. It was what the company had become known for. Not technology, not money, not inventions. It was known for helping people discover that their imagination wasn't something they were supposed to escape from. It was something they were supposed to enter. I looked at the ocean, and suddenly I understood why I had spent so much of my life having ideas that seemed too strange. They weren't distractions. They were directions. Each strange idea had been pointing toward something: a path, a possibility, a future version of life that didn't exist yet. I turned around. The older version of myself was standing behind me again. Why are you showing me this? Because you asked. When? He smiled. Just now. I thought about the office, the device, the moment I had typed. What if reality? He continued. You thought you were imagining the future. I stared at him. You were remembering it. Everything went silent. I felt the words hit me. Remembering? He nodded. Your imagination isn't always creating something new. He stepped closer. Sometimes it's recognizing something that already exists as a possibility. The world around us began dissolving. The future office disappeared. The ocean disappeared. The buildings disappeared. The stars disappeared. Everything became white. Then I heard my own voice. Wake up! My eyes opened. I was back in my office. My friend was standing in front of me. The device was still on the desk. The computer clock had started again. 4:17, exactly the same time. I looked at my phone. 4:17. I looked at him. How long was I gone? He frowned. You weren't gone. How long? Maybe 30 seconds. I looked at the device, then at the blank document on my computer. The sentence was still there. What if reality? But now there was something underneath it. Words I hadn't typed. I leaned closer. There was only one sentence. What if reality is imagination viewed from the inside? I stared at it. My friend stared at it. Neither of us spoke. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because suddenly everything made sense. I closed the document. I think I'm going home. He smiled. Good idea. I packed my things. I walked out of the office. The evening air felt completely different. Nothing had changed. And yet everything had changed. The parking lot was still there. The Tesla was still there. The town was still the town. But I felt like I was seeing the world for the first time. I got into the car. Before starting it, I looked at my reflection in the window. For just a fraction of a second, I saw the older version of myself. He smiled. Then he was gone. I started laughing. Okay, I said to myself. Let's see what happens. The Tesla pulled onto the road. The sun was getting lower. The road toward the Oregon coast opened ahead of me. And as I drove, I began thinking about everything waiting to be created. The inventions, the companies, the creative projects, the places, the people, the experiences, the possibilities. But now I understood something I hadn't understood before.